Hello crafty friends and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am really excited to share some fun tips and tricks on how you can get most out of your coordinating sets. I'll be showing you how to use them in different ways, whether you want to mass produce a batch of cards or create completely unique designs that look nothing alike. For today's projects, I'll be working with some amazing new products from the latest Catherine Pooler release in collaboration with Sizzix. Specifically, I'll be focusing on the Happy Garden Stencil and Embossing folder combo set. Now, if you love floral designs, this set is definitely worth adding to your collection. The amazing embossing folder creates an intricate floral pattern that adds gorgeous depth and dimension to your card fronts, while the coordinating layering stencil perfectly enhances those embossed details. In this video, I'll be sharing techniques to use these two sets together for a cohesive look, as well as creative ways to use them individually. Speaking of florals, I also recommend checking out the Whimsy Blooms stamp and die set combo from this new release. I even created a project where I paired the die cut florals with the Happy Garden embossing folder, and they worked beautifully together. Moving on to technique number one, we will start with just the embossing folder. I began by placing an A2 size panel inside the embossing folder, running it through my Sizzix Big Shot die cutting machine. Now, I did add a sheet of printer paper as a shim to get a deeper impression, but well, that's not actually required. Just take a look at how gorgeous that intricate floral design is. It's absolutely stunning. I used plain white cardstock here because I plan to do some ink blending, but this would look just as beautiful on colored cardstocks as well. For the first technique, I'm keeping it really simple with some absolutely simple ink blending. I went with one of my all-time favorite color combinations. We have pinks and oranges with just a touch of yellow in one corner. This technique is perfect for mass producing in different color palettes. You could go for rainbow effect, create an ombre look using the light, medium and dark shades of the same color palette, or even add color randomly for a more artistic or well messy look. No matter which option you choose, the result will always be a beautifully ink blended background that highlights the stunning intricate floral design from that absolutely gorgeous embossing folder. I'd love to hear from you. Drop your favorite color combinations in the comments below. I can't wait to try some of them out myself. Now, coming back to our panel, I did go back and forth with my ink blending brush to make sure that the transition between the colors was smooth and seamless with no harsh lines showing through. I absolutely love how this panel turned out, but of course I had to add a touch of sparkle. Once the ink blending was done, I placed the panel into my splatter box and sprayed it with shimmer spray. You'll notice a soft mist along with some larger droplets from the spray bottle, but well, I actually love that slightly messy effect. It gives the panel a more natural and organic feel while making the colors underneath really pop. Now, here's a closer look at the finished panel. Isn't it absolutely gorgeous? While the shimmer spray dries, we will move on to our second technique, which features the Happy Garden stencil on its own. Now, this stencil is actually a four-layered design with each layer adding more detail to create a beautiful floral background you see here on the packaging. Now, although the stencils are numbered 1 through 4, you can really start with any layer and build up your design from there. For this, I'm using my Sizzix stencil and stamp platform. I find it works perfectly with the Sizzix layering stencils thanks to those guide holes on the stencils that line up with the platform guides. Plus, the sticky mat on the stamp platform keeps the cardstock in place so that your panel does not shift while you work through each layer of those stencils. I began by placing my panel under the stencil opening and pressing it onto the sticky surface of my stamp platform, making sure to align the stencil holes with the platform guides. Layer 1 features the leaves along with a few floral details. For this layer, I chose a mix of different shades of greens. As I worked through each stencil, I switched between my larger and smaller blending brushes, but honestly, the choice is yours. You can use whatever tools you feel comfortable with. If you'd like, you can even mask off those floral areas and only add colors to the green color to your leaves. Personally, I decided to stick with one color per stencil layer. It keeps the process a lot more simple and is especially handy if you're mass producing this design. You can either repeat the same color palette or switch things up with different shades for the flowers and the centers. Well, for my flowers, I used the same color scheme as we did for the previous panel. I have the pinks, oranges, and yellows. I also added some shading by blending lighter and darker tones together, which really creates depth and dimension in the design. Each time I peel back a stencil, I'm amazed at how beautifully this panel is coming together. The contrast between the yellow and the green especially looks absolutely stunning. You'll really see the gorgeous details shine after stencil number 3, where the flower petals and the centers start to come to life. Then stencil number 4 adds finishing touches, details on the leaves, stems, and even some decorative dots to fill in the background. For this layer, I went with a darker shade of green so that it would stand out against the lighter greens already on the leaves. Since the areas on stencil number 4 are more intricate, I switched to my mini ink blending brush to get into those tiny little spaces with precision. Once I finished ink blending through the stencil, I wiped off the excess green using a damp microfiber cloth. I made sure to clean the stencil carefully, taking care not to smudge any of that ink on my panel. Before removing the stencil, I wanted to add a bit of sparkle, similar to the shimmer mist on our first panel. But this time, I'm using a stencil paste. Using a palette knife, I carefully apply the paste to all the small dots on the flowers. If you'd like, you could also add the paste to the other details from the stencil number 4 for an even more extra sparkle and shine. After applying the paste, I cleaned both my stencil and the palette knife with warm soapy water to prevent the paste from setting in. Finally, I peeled off the panel off the stamp platform, and here's a look at this absolutely vibrant, colorful card background. Isn't it beautiful? I'll set this panel aside and let the stencil paste dry while we move on to our next technique, which combines both the embossing folder and the stencil. Keep in mind that these are coordinating sets, meaning that the pattern created by the embossing folder lines up perfectly with the stencil. The openings in the stencil fit like puzzle pieces over the raised areas of that embossed panel, making it easy to layer them together seamlessly. I started with a white embossed panel just like we did in technique number 1. This time, instead of ink blending directly onto the panel, I placed it back into my stamp platform along with the coordinating stencil, which fits perfectly over the raised areas of the embossed design. Now, for this project, I decided to try a monochromatic look using various shades of brown to color in the panel. I began with one layer and the leaves and the few floral details, and for each of the stencil layers, I chose a different shade of brown to create a subtle contrast while keeping the overall design cohesive. I have to admit, I was a bit hesitant at first about using the browns on this background, but well, I wasn't sure if the brown flowers would really work. But I'm genuinely amazed at how beautiful this turned out. This is another design that you could easily mass produce in a variety of different color combinations or even other monochromatic designs. And just like that, we have our 3 panels ready. One created with just the embossing folder, the second one using only the stencil, and the third combining both the techniques. Each background looks completely unique, so you can choose your favorite method and even mass produce them in a variety of different color combinations. Once my backgrounds were ready, off camera, I went ahead and prepared some sentiment strips and circles. For all the cards, I decided to make them as happy birthday cards using the happy birthday sentiment from the Up and Away stamp set from one of the previous Catherine Pooler releases. For card number 1, I have this little sentiment circle. Before adding it to the panel, I decided to add a touch of gold. I used a thin gold thread and wrapped it around the panel 3 times. Well, this not only anchors the sentiment circle but also adds a bit of sparkle and texture to this already beautiful background. For the sentiment circle, I used thinner foam adhesives to give it a subtle lift. I cut the circle using the Border Party Circles die, which is also part of this new release. This set includes six beautifully etched circles, each with an intricate design that adds texture and visual interest to your cards. This is the up and away stamp set that I used for all of my sentiments. It includes three phases. We have happy birthday, thinking of you, and congratulations. I absolutely love the delicate font on these sentiments. Now, I also have created videos showing the stamp set along with the coordinating dies. I'll leave links to those in the description box below. For this card, I placed the birthday sentiment circle in the lower left hand quadrant. This placement allows the sentiment to stand out while still keeping the focus on that beautifully ink blended background. And well, that's a wrap on card number one. Be sure to share in the comments below which color combinations you would love to see or want me to try on this floral background. Moving on to card number two, which features a panel we created using just the stencil. I absolutely love how vibrant and colorful this panel turned out. For this card, I opted for a smaller, more subtle sentiment. I stamped Happy Birthday on black cardstock and heat embossed it on white. Using foam tape, I lifted the sentiment slightly off the panel, which keeps the focus on that beautiful background rather than the sentiment itself. Finally, I adhered the panel directly onto an A2 size card base using liquid glue. Cards 1 and 2 were fully set with shine and sparkle, but card number 3, the monochromatic brown card, has a clean and simple look. To add a touch of sparkle, I incorporated a thin strip of brown glitter cardstock from Your Paper Insider. I trimmed the panel to leave about half an inch border on the right hand side. For my sentiment, I stamped the same happy birthday phrase on white cardstock using dark brown ink, then added the matching strip of glitter cardstock along the bottom of the sentiment to keep the design cohesive. Well, that's a wrap on all the cards that we created today. We explored three different techniques using the embossing folder, one using the stencil alone, and then we have a combination of both to create three completely unique card designs. I'd love to hear from you which one of these card designs is your favorite. Let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to see which one you'd choose. I hope this inspires you to try these techniques in your own projects, whether with supplies that you already have on hand or with these exact products from the new Catherine Pooler release. Well, all the supplies that I used for these cards will be listed down in the description box below. Please know that all of the links there are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.